We are live. Welcome to BAM Fight Club. I'm Colby. This is Fern. We're previewing UFC Fight Night Dos Anjos versus Fiziev. Prelims start at 3 o'clock. Main card starts at 6 o'clock today in the UFC Apex, Las Vegas, Nevada. And before we even get into the main card, just real briefly on the prelim card, Valentina Shevchenko's, is it her older sister or her younger sister?
I think it's her younger sister.
Her younger sister, who's bigger than her, is fighting on
little sister is bigger than the big sister.
We've seen a fight a few times before. Not nearly the same skill level as her sister, but nonetheless, we'll enjoy seeing that fight. Is there anything else you want to say about any one of the prelims before we get into the main card?
No, just that's the prelims, and then did want to announce that Colby and I have officially partnered with a professional fighter. Ezekiel Flores is from Phoenix, Oregon, representing, we're all from Central Point, Southern Oregon. So Zeke Flores is teamed up, add him on social media. He's training with Leo Santa Cruz, and he's had a couple of pro fights here. You could see, he's out there putting in work. Big Bear, Cali, LA, hanging out with pro fighters. He's a pro fighter, and we're hoping to see him make it big and, have him support us. Hopefully his next walkout, we'll know here in the next couple of days when he's fighting next. Probably in the next week or so. But yeah, follow him on Instagram. Ezekiel Flores, up and coming pro boxer from Southern Oregon, from Phoenix. Love that neighborhood. That's where I used to work. We're all from Southern Oregon. Gotta show love, respect, and add him on Instagram, Zeke_0606. He's had one pro fight on TV. Look it up. He did a great job. Won by decision on his debut. And yeah, you can see every day he's putting in work. Check out his Instagram. You see him just hanging out with pro boxers every day, working out 2-3 times a day. Shout out Zeke. Shout out Bam. We're doing big things, getting pro fighters, on our roster, showing us love and showing them back. So thanks for following us with that. And it's our first pro fighter. We're looking to do interviews and stuff like that, and get to follow a fighter on their voyage up in their career.
Yeah, very exciting stuff. Thanks for mentioning that. And we'll go ahead and start with the main card. First fight on the main card that we're going to talk about between Michael Johnson and Jamie Mullarkey. Johnson coming as a plus 190 underdog. Mullarkey coming as a negative 230 favorite. And Johnson is coming off of a win in his last fight, which broke a 4-fight losing streak for that guy. Michael Johnson, I think, is a great fighter, longtime veteran in the UFC. And yeah, it was really sad to, with any guy, but especially with a long time, a guy who's been with the UFC as long as he has, to see him go on a 4-fight losing streak. So glad he broke it in his last fight where he got a KO in the second round. Mullarkey, not nearly the veteran that Michael Johnson is, but Mullarkey's coming off of a loss and 2 wins before that. So as far as the mental game, I'm not sure if coming off of a win is going to mean as much for Michael Johnson as it might with other guys in other situations, because he still has those 4 preceding losses. It's going to be, I imagine, pretty hard to get over mentally that late in his career. But I think it's going to be a good fight. I'm not sure if we're going to see fireworks in this one or not. Usually they try to get a really good, banger for the first fight on the main card, but I'm not sure about that, because I'm imagining Michael Johnson is probably going to be playing it cautious, is my guess. What are your thoughts, Fern?
I love Michael Johnson. Michael Johnson's been around for forever. Fought Nate Diaz, has fought all these people, up and coming challengers, champions, all that stuff. And I actually disagree with you on that. I expect this to be a knockout, because I'm looking at Mullarkey. Yeah, he got knocked out his last fight, so I think he's going to be cautious and tentative. But Michael Johnson won his last fight by a knockout. So Michael Johnson also hasn't had the most success. But with Mullarkey, I'm looking at his record. He's got 10 KOs, TKOs. I think they might have just put 2 people up, like a guy with nothing to lose and a guy who's known to stand up and see how they do. Well, man. What started off Michael Johnson's kind of route down is, his loss to Josh Emmett in 2019, and Josh Emmett now, is kind of being considered a challenger. Some people are not excited about him. I'm not very excited about him, but Michael Johnson has fights against Artem Lobov, Darren Elkins, Justin Gaethje, Khabib, Poirier, Nate Diaz, Benil Dariush, Edson Barbosa, Melvin Guillard, Gleason Tebow, Joe Lozon. Like, he's been fighting in the UFC since, I'm looking at it, since 2010.
Yeah.
So he's been around for a while. And I see a lot of fighters that he's fought that are like no longer fighting at all. Like, he might be that second to last wave. Like, you have those people like the Glovers who are the first wave, kind of aging out, and I'd say Michael Johnson's definitely on, probably on his last leg in his career. So it was great to see him win his last fight in that manner, him not lose, and then him in a way that he's known for winning. I'm excited for this one. I will not be excited for Michael Johnson if he loses. I think I could see him getting cut, because that's just, Jamie Malarkey isn't a household name. He's definitely, up and coming from Australia. So maybe he's a fighter that they're looking to get on one of those cards in the future, with an Izzy, a Volkanovski, a Whitaker, or something. I don't know what team he's affiliated with. Do you see what team he's affiliated with? Well, Michael Johnson's with Sanford MMA, which is Gaethje and all them. Magnus MMA
is with Magnus MMA.
So not City Kickboxing, which maybe might be his next move. But I'm excited for this one for sure.
Not to take anything away from Michael Johnson, because he's had some very notable wins in his career. He's got a win over File. He's got a win over Dustin Poirier, over Edson Barbosa. He finished Gleason Tebow, who, if you remember, that was what many people consider to be Khabib's toughest fight.
Loss.
He couldn't finish it. No, Khabib didn't lose, but
he took Khabib down, right?
Yeah. So he's definitely got some, and went over Tony Ferguson. So definitely a lot of great wins. But if you look at this guy's record, 21-17, he's almost a 50-50 kind of fighter. And my thought about it maybe being cautious is because he's going against a guy who, like you mentioned, has 10 KOs. Is a much younger fighter. Mm-hmm. So that's why I'm wondering, is he going to want to stand and bang with the younger guy who's got that many KOs on his record? So that's my only thought. But hopefully I'm wrong. We'll see some fireworks here. And did you make a pick on who's going to win?
I would say I want Johnson to win. I don't know if he's on my DraftKings. DraftKings, if you don't know, you and your friends can set up just like a quick little pick me up between, pick 'em fight. We do that as our group of friends, and let me see if who I picked. Actually, I did. Johnson is one of my picks. He was within my budget, so I have enough confidence in him to, wage against my friends on that.
All right, interesting. I'm probably gonna pick Malarkey to win on this one, and hopefully it'll be a good fight. We'll see. Next up on the card is Zahabi versus Ricky Turcios. Turcios coming in as a -200 favorite, and I'm trying to recall the last time these two guys, or either of these guys, fought. Zahabi, his last fight was in February 2021. Before that was 2019. Before that, 2017. So he's not been very active. That's why it didn't ring a bell at first when I heard his name. But he is coming off of a KO win, first round KO win against Draco Rodriguez. And Ricky is coming off of a 3-fight win streak. His last win was in August of 2021. He's been a little bit more active. Both of these guys, pretty early on in their career. Zahabi fighting out of Canada, Turcios, USA. I honestly don't even recall seeing these guys fight. Like I said, it's been a while for both of them. What are your thoughts on this matchup, Fern?
So, is it Eamon? Zahabi is obviously a well-known last name, fighting at a TriStar gym. Faraz Zahabi is a well-known trainer, GSP's trainer, TriStar trainer, has produced some champions. I'm assuming he's related to him somehow, probably his brother or something like that. With that being said, I think that gym has not produced anyone of notoriety lately, anyone notable. Ricky Turcios, I do recall watching a couple of his fights recently, and I'm excited because he's just interesting fighter. He's obviously Hispanic, but I was watching an interesting interview with like it's what's his name, Sugar Sean O'Malley, and like you have these scrappy small like Hispanic dudes that remind me of like the ones in boxing that just like can fight for days and not get knocked out. And Sugar Sean O'Malley had mentioned like who's the toughest ethnicity to fight. He's like Mexicans, man, you can't knock them out. So Ricky Tercios in his fights reminds me of that style. Just scrappy. Comes to fight. I think Sahabi, obviously being with the camp that he's with, is going to come with a game plan, look to implement probably some kicks, mix it up with some takedowns. That camp, when they were on, they were legit. They made GSP have amazing showings against wrestlers, against strikers, and turned him into, what many can believe is like the best all-around mixed martial artist. So I'm excited about this one because I think it'll show who's up and coming. I'm excited for some new names. Ricky's got a good record, 12-2 and 0, and hopefully this can get him some decent fights in the future. What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, so as I do the MMA math and do some computations here, just based on, if we're going based on stats, I mean, I definitely got to pick Ricky. I can see why, the odds are in his favor. On virtually every metric, he looks like he's, beating out Zahabi, except for maybe a little bit on defense. But in terms of landed per minute, it's like a 3-to-1 ratio in favor of Ricky. Significant strike percentage, accuracy, strikes absorbed per minute, grappling,
almost
takedown
triple
accuracy.
Significant strikes. Yeah,
looking
through the stats
literally
right
everything
now.
except for defense. So Zahabi's got a little bit of edge on the stats in terms of takedown defense and striking defense. I don't know that that's going to be enough. Also, Ricky's the younger fighter, 5 years younger. So as far as picks go, I think I'm going to pick Ricky on this one.
Yeah, I would say he's just definitely looks like the more active fighter, more consistent fighter. Did you pick him for any of your picks for DraftKings?
I don't believe so, no.
I did not pick either of these guys as well.
I'm just putting my honor at stake. My stellar reputation of fight predictions is on the line.
Yeah.
So two young guys, up and comers in their career. Be an interesting fight. Let's see. Next up on the card, because we're gonna have to hurry through. Fights are gonna start here pretty soon. 30 minutes. So next up on the card is Jared Vanderaa versus Chase Sherman. Vanderaa, man, he's coming off a 3-fight losing streak, but his last fight was against Olenek. Before that was against Arlovsky. The fight against Olenek, it was a submission, first round submission. Did not go very well for him at all. But the fight before that he had against Arlovsky, I thought he did really well. And he seems like, he's not, definitely not top 5 guy in terms of skills or anything like that, but definitely seems like a guy who, with some work, he's only had 5 fights now in the UFC.
Mm-hmm.
I hope he gets enough chances to improve, because I feel like he's a guy who can improve. He's 30 years old, which these days for heavyweights doesn't seem to be very old at all. And he's going to be going up against Chase Sherman. So I like this matchup for him because Chase Sherman's coming off a 4-loss streak, and he's another guy who, again, not like top 5 kind of material, but maybe with time and some skill improvement, I could see him rising through the ranks. But he also has a loss to Arlovsky. I think I've bet on him 2 out of his last 4 fights, and each time I bet on him, he lost. But he's looked good. He seems like a fairly quick, heavyweight, relatively speaking, of course. He seems like he can bounce around on his feet, and he's pretty light on his feet and has pretty good movement. But the outcomes, the results just have not been good for him or for Vanderaa. So this is going to be interesting. The great news is that one of them is going to break their losing streak after this fight. So that's one of the good things that UFC does with these matchups. Lots of times is they find guys coming off of losses, and then they get to break their losing streak because one of them's going to win. In terms of the odds, obviously or not obviously, but favoring Vandera at Vandera as a negative 200. I'm not too sure. I feel like this one's going to be much closer maybe than the odds are giving them credit for. What are your thoughts?
I'm looking at their records, and this is going to be both of them have fought twice this year. This is going to be their third fight this year. That's outrageous. Vanderall, like if you look, he fought 3 times in 2021, and he's already on his third fight in 2022 with half the year left. And so I think if any of them have a chance to end their losing streak, they've given themselves the best opportunity. They've been active, they've been consistent. Vanderall lost in October by TKO, but other than that, this year hasn't taken much damage. And Chase Sherman has lost by 2 submissions this year so far. But to me, that's better than losing by KO, TKO. So this is going to be an interesting one because they're both fighters coming from losses, but they're not definitive, like they've been put out. And losing against Arlovsky, I don't know if that's like a way to gauge it, because definitely like Arlovsky, I root for him forever because he's been around since like 2000, but like he's just at this point kind of like a gatekeeper. And then like I don't know what you would call these guys who are losing to a gatekeeper, like
Well, that's what I say. But if you look at those fights, I mean, they're pretty competitive fights. They were close. It's not like Arlovsky just blew them out. Kind of like you're saying, it's not like they've had definitive, they're out there and they're just getting steamrolled, KO'd or anything. And as far as the matchup goes, as far as the stats, both these guys 6'4", very similar in weight, just a couple inch reach advantage to Vandera, same leg reach. If you look at their significant strikes, this is where I was thinking like the odds, favoring Vandera. I'm not sure, because if you look at the stats, Sherman's leading in terms of the striking department with strikes landed per minute. They're almost even on significant strike percentages. I guess Sherman takes more shots per minute, so he's landing more, but he's also taking more. Guy gets more into the firefight, but he does have a better striking defense percentage-wise in terms of strikes missed. But that's, to me, an interesting stat, because to me what it's saying is that he's a higher volume striker. If he's getting more strikes absorbed per minute, and with his defense being higher, the only way that can happen is if he's getting into the firefight and getting into the thick of things. So I feel like this is gonna be a strike up or a striking match for sure. It's gonna happen in the stand up. Neither of these guys seem to have, I think there's maybe one takedown for Vandera. That's why he has a takedown accuracy of 100%. So I think he shot one takedown and he got it. But otherwise, these guys don't get submissions. They don't get takedowns. They're both stand-up fighters. So this is going to be resolved, I think, in the striking department. And my thoughts are it's going to be very close. If you're betting, I feel like there's value on Sherman. Who's your prediction for winning?
I'm gonna go with Vanderall. He's a favorite. But I think either way, like regardless of the outcome, I hope they have a decent showing. This will be a fight where I'm hoping they both have a decent showing, because if not, you're gonna be like, even with a win, you're not convincing people you should be in the UFC. Like, it's they're both up in age. Not to say that there's an age limit, judging by some of these 40-year-olds who are champions or fighting for titles. But I think at heavyweight it's more so relevant. Like you got to stay active. You got to Arlovsky's still fighting, but he's known for striking. He's known for sambo. I don't know these guys for anything. So Vanderall, I'm going with the favorite. I don't know if I picked any of them for my DraftKings. Let's see.
Okay.
Yeah, Vanderall. So he's my
enough
confidence.
Next up, odds very skewed to one side here. We've got Silva de Andrade versus Said Nurmagomedov. And this is an interesting matchup. Obviously, Nurmagomedov, he's Khabib's cousin. Is that
Yeah.
correct? Am I saying that right? That's his relation. Yeah. So very tough name to live up to. Um, he's had 5 fights now in the UFC. 4 of them wins, 1 loss to Raoni Barcelos. But he's coming off a win against Cody Stamos just in January this year. And Andrade, he fought in February, and he had a win again over Sergey Morozov. I think I don't know what I really have to add to this other than I think Nurmagomedov is going to smash Andrade. Andrade is getting up there in age, 37, and in the 135 pound weight class, where these guys, they take a lot more strikes typically than the heavyweight, so it's much harder to go longer into the career for the guys in the 135 pound weight class. Nurmagomedov, he's 30. He's probably at the at that peak right now of his physical part of his career. So I feel like and Nurmagomedov has the obviously the wrestling being related to Khabib and coming out of that part of the world. And Andrade, he's more of a, well, I was gonna say he's I think of him as more of a striker. When you look at the stats, it is kind of interesting though. He does seem to have more takedowns average per minute. I don't know if that's because Nurmagomedov, when he takes guys down, is holding them down longer, or what. But Andrade does have a little bit higher output on the takedown average, and much better on the takedown accuracy. So that's interesting. What are your thoughts on this? Did you think of Andrade as a stand-up guy? That's what I.
Yeah, I saw his fight with is it Peter Yan? And just make sure I'm looking at his and not at yeah, Peter Yan. It was a doctor stoppage, but a corner stoppage, but he can definitely trade with whoever. Absolutely. I think I agree with the age being a factor. I don't see how a lot of these guys make the weight. He's like my height and build, but he's cutting down to 135. A lot of the guys who are 5'8", 5'7", and up are fighting at 155, and even then they're finding themselves having to go up in weight. You think of Conor McGregor and all those, like, training little by little, you're building mass, and it gets harder with age to cut weight. And he looks shredded in all his picks, like even his UFC profile pick. But that's got to be, like, it's going to take its toll, like, unless you're doing hella cardio as you're packing on more mass. And then, the Nurmagomedov camp is just doing wrestling all day. They're lean, they're lanky. It's going to be hard to not pick against Nurmagomedov. He's actually my pick on DraftKings, and I think he's going to come out and just do whatever. Like, I think Silva is going to have like 1 to 2 minutes to figure something out and do something. Other than that, he's going to get controlled. I think he's going to get ragdolled.
Yeah, I think the conditioning also is going to be hugely in favor of Nurmagomedov. You're talking about his muscles. Yeah, he looks shredded, but typically when it comes to conditioning, guys who look like Andrade are guys who tire out after a round of heavy grappling. Whereas, like, with Nurmagomedov, he doesn't have as much muscle definition because he's conditioned so much that his muscles cannibalize a little bit. They don't tend to be as well defined. Doesn't look like a bodybuilder. That's, at least in my experience in wrestling, when you see a guy who looks like the bodybuilder type, the conditioning is not typically not great, unless someone's like a genetic freak, like who's the I was thinking Francis Ngannou. He's a guy who's like shredded for being heavyweight, but he still has pretty good cardio. I think that's pretty rare. Typically, though, when you see a guy looks like this, you're like, yeah, he's going to get tired after a round of heavy grappling. So I expect Nurmagomedov to be able to take him to the ground. I think he's going to get super tired in the first round, and I see Andrade getting finished in the second round, let's say. I think he's going to be so tired that he's just going to be able to get him in a one-arm choke. He'll be so tired.
What are the odds on this fight?
Like I said, they're huge. Negative 490 favorite for Nurmagomedov.
Nice.
So, yeah, that's it's gonna be hard to pick Andrade with this one. So yeah, we're both picking Nurmagomedov. I think I got him in DraftKings also. We'll see him smash. And next up, we've got Baralho versus Petrosian. Baralho coming in as a negative 260 favorite in this one. And I'll go ahead and let you kick this off, Fern. What are your thoughts?
I'm excited about this one. I think both of these guys are pretty big, like just physically powerful. Petrosian is 6'3". He's definitely, his fights I feel like have I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with like Gegard Mousasi. He's got that kind of style, like lanky, rangy. Definitely, I expect him to establish the distance, establish the range early on. And he's been a champion before in other organizations, so I think he's got the, how would you say, the knowledge, the advantage in strategizing. Kaio, I'm not too familiar with any of his, but looking at his record in his last couple fights, he's got a lot of decision wins, and he does have a TKO victory in one of his last ones. But I think it's going to be a little too much for him to go up against Petrosian, just having that experience in other organizations. I think he's definitely going to be a person to watch, Petrosian, because he's a Contender Series fighter and has shown off and done great in those. Winning by KO. Definitely interesting pick though for co-main event. Like I think somebody like a Michael Johnson. Or even, I don't even know. Like, this is a interesting pick for co-main event for me.
Yeah, what I'm seeing is interesting here is on ESPN has Petrosian listed as a lightweight. The UFC website has Petrosian's weight at 135.
It's right here. Yeah, I was looking at it like.
And this is, I'm pretty sure, a middleweight fight, 185 pounds. So I don't know what is how reliable these stats are when I'm looking at them, but in terms of the stats, for striking, they definitely seem to favor Petrosian. Grappling seems to favor Baralho, and if I recall, Baralho's last fight there was some controversy about, I can't quite recall what it was. He ended up winning by decision. This is a guy, if you remember, I think he wears glasses, so he kind of looks like unassuming, kind of nerdy guy.
Yeah.
He's not
it's
in
like
the ring.
Reading about
it,
it's a technical decision. What? That's
what?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was weird. Well, ESPN is, that's what I was saying. I feel like the stats and things like this are not reliable, because ESPN's shown it as a unanimous decision for his last fight.
Yeah.
But the time, if you look at the time, it was round 3 minutes and 56 seconds. So it was a decision, but it didn't go the whole distance. So that's right. That was the controversy. So I don't know, I can't remember if he eye poked or some illegal strike or something. And because it was more than 1.5 rounds and half the fight was through, then it goes to the judges' cards. That was the controversy there. So that was interesting. That was a close fight. I think this is one where, I'm going to pick the underdog in this one. I'm going to be picking Petrosian. Who's your pick?
Petrosian.
Okay, both of us got the underdog here. Okay.
Yeah, so looking at what happened last fight is there was a knee, and it was an illegal knee to the head thrown by him, and it forced a premature stoppage. And Dan Miragliotta took a point away from him, but Omar Fiziev couldn't return to the fight. And instead of disqualifying him, they went to the scorecards, which they do in boxing. If there's an injury or anything like that, after so many rounds, they go look at the cards, and that's how you got a technical decision. It was but he had been winning every round up until that point.
Yeah. So. Yeah, interesting. We'll see how it does in this one. I want to talk about the main card. This is the one I'm really excited about because Fiziev is fighting Dos Anjos. Dos Anjos coming in as a plus 190 underdog in this one. And man, Fiziev, this guy, he's on he lost his first fight in the UFC, but since then has gone on a 5-fight win streak. And this guy is from Kyrgyzstan, I'm saying that correctly, I believe. But does some really creative, interesting stuff. As I think I love his fight style. I love watching his fights. And Dos Anjos, of course, is a guy who, longtime veteran of the game, and is still fighting very competitive at the highest level of the UFC. Recently has a win over Paul Felder and Moicano, which are both tough fights, and man, he just brought it in both of those fights. So this is one where there's definitely going to be fireworks. I don't expect this one to go to the distance. And as far as who my picks are, I'm going to pick Fiziev, but I think it's going to be a close competitive match. I don't think he's going to get Dos Anjos out in the first 3 rounds. I think it's going to be round 4 or 5, if anything. And I'm going to say maybe a knockout, maybe a decision, but it's not going to end fast. Both of these guys are amazing fighters.
Yeah, I think Fiziev is probably going to pull out the victory. Dos Anjos has fought everyone at this point. The only person he hasn't fought is Conor McGregor, and I hope that one day we see that. But it looks like Fiziev, by the way he's been talking and getting responses, is he might fight Conor McGregor eventually. They had a back and forth tiff on Twitter earlier this week. Conor criticizing Fiziev does this amazing lean back arch to dip out of the way of kicks, and Conor McGregor criticized and was like, well, I could turn it into an axe kick, and anyone who knows kind of physics or martial arts would know it's super hard to change. I know people have heard of a question mark kick up, but I don't know if anyone's heard of a spinning kick and then an axe kick. This isn't a video game. And so it's interesting, but I think either one of these guys would be great to see against Conor. Dos Anjos has been around for a long time. He's been in some wars. He's definitely got amazing stand-up. I'm surprised he can still make the 155 weight limit, because he has gotten huge. He's just solid, and Fiziev, I think this is a chance to show that he can hang. I could easily see him, being 1 or 2 fights away from a contender fight, challenging for the title, because he's exciting. He's having these great victories against these up and coming fighters who are doing well as well. Brad Riddell, Bobby Green, all those guys. And he's pretty active. He fought twice in 2021, as recently as December, whereas Dos Anjos is not fighting as often. And as you're getting up in age, you need to have that consistency that that can't be. Fought in March, but before that, November 2020, that's just a long time in between. So I don't know, maybe it's a time for a fighter like Dos Anjos. Would have been nice to maybe Cowboy Cerrone stuck around. I think once it gets a certain age or a certain length in UFC, they should start, people have talked about doing a Legends division, where it's the older fighters fighting each other, because that's still competitive. Robbie Lawler this last weekend, he would be in that, because you want them to compete, and they can have a good showing every once in a while, but then they fight somebody who is younger and fighting more consistently, and it shows. Dos Anjos is a pick of mine on DraftKings, but that's one that I was like, if I lose, what did I expect?
Yeah, and this is an important fight, I think, for both of them, because Dos Anjos is ranked number 7. So a win here against a top 10 guy with Fiziev will potentially put him in the top 5, and any one of the top 5, really is eligible for a title shot. So this could be, he could be 1 or 2 fights away from a title shot, and similar with Fiziev, he's just broken into the top 10. If he gets a win over Dos Anjos, he could be 1 or 2 fights away from being in the top 5, and that puts him in the running for a title shot. And he's not fought for a title before, so if he gets up there, I feel like he would get put to the front of the line probably quicker than Dos Anjos. Which unfortunately, I feel like that's how it works. So, once a guy's had a title shot, it's harder to get that second or third title shot. Is at least based on history of what we've seen, and also the younger up and coming fighter, and especially for this weight class at 155 is so competitive. It's so crazy. Everyone's so good. But also, we've seen, I think, all the top 5 guys fight for the title at this point. I'm thinking, there's like, who's there? Chandler, Gaethje, obviously the champion. Yeah, the other ones aren't coming to mind, but yeah, I feel like they've all fought for the title. So if they get another title shot, they'll be fighting their second or third title shot. Fiziev, this will be his first. He's on that rocket ship up right now. So yeah, I expect both these guys to totally bring it. They're not going to hold anything back. There's a lot on the line for both of them, and yeah, my pick is Fiziev on this one to win. I think by KO, but I'd say 60% chance KO.
Wouldn't surprise me. Probably by like kick or strikes for sure.
All right. Well, we've only got a few minutes till fight start. Is there anything else you want to say for him before we sign off?
Just support Ezekiel Flores. Again, we're going to be supporting him, showing him much love. Hope to see him rocking our stuff going into some of these fights. Check him out. Add him on, social media, Zeke_0606. Other than that, keep following us. We're, staying active, hopefully you guys like the new style, us with the background, us music. Trying to do something different. And, as always, Colby, much love, respect. Like, I feel like we're doing something big. So super excited and enjoy the fights.
See ya.
All right, see ya.
Yeah.